Hello children, today I am going to take your literature class and the chapter is Animals on the Track. This chapter you have been taught earlier, but though it is lengthy, so I will be dividing it into half and I will be teaching you today. Please follow.
So now I am going to discuss the summary of Animals on the Track. Animals on the Track is a short story written by Ruskin Bond. Now you might be asking, who is Ruskin Bond? He is an Indian author of a British descent. Ruskin and his grandparents are moving to a new home in Lucknow. So they are shifting to a new home. Now animals are quite behaving. So all the animals are quite well behaving, except the squirrel that is running pell-mell to get a roasted groundnuts from passengers. Okay, now the squirrel often comes to Ruskin and hands him some roasted nuts. So in this chapter we also find that grandfather has decided to travel in the first class compartment so that the other passengers might not get disturbed by the animals or by the pets they are carrying. Like tiger is there, parrot is there, squirrel is there, so that they should not disturb the passengers. So grandfather has decided to travel in the first class compartment. Now we find that the author is hungry and he is in search of food. So he is asking his grandfather that whether they have brought anything for. Now when the author opened the tiffin basket, he found that the grandfather's pet python was lying. Maybe grandfather had let it loose in the garden before leaving, but it had somehow managed to snuggle itself into the tiffin basket. Now, by seeing this, the grandfather was asking the author that what are you staring at? Then he replied, it is a python and it has eaten up our all dinner. Grandfather jumped out of his place, looked inside, snapped the basket shut and pushed it back under the berth, and he said that the grandmother must not see it. She will think that the grandfather and the author has brought it on purpose. So till this much I am teaching you. In the next class, the rest I will complete it.
Animals on the Track, Chapter 7. Ruskin Bond's Animal on the Track is one of his most enjoyable stories. He is also known as the writer on the hill. This line probably sums him up perfectly, for that what he has always been a writer who lives in a Lander, Missouri. All aboard! Quick! Shrieked Popeye, grandmother's pet parrot, as the family climbed aboard the Lucknow Express. We were moving from Dehradun to Lucknow, and as grandmother had insisted on taking her pet parrot along, grandfather and I made sure that we brought our pets, grandfather, teenage tiger, and my small squirrel. But grandmother had made it very clear that we had to leave grandfather's other pet, the python, behind. Grandfather had decided to do things in style travel, first class, so we had the compartment to ourselves. Timothy, the tiger, had an entire berth to himself. The guard said that Timothy was an excellent passenger. He did not disturb anyone. All the same, the journey was not without excitement. Everyone had a share of theirs by the time we reached our destination. To begin with, Popeye objected to vendors popping their heads in through the windows. First, he bit a vendor's nose and sent him screaming, then nipped the surprise ticket inspector's ears. My pet, Chips, emerged from my pocket to examine his surroundings. Before I could stop him, he was out scurrying along the corridor. He discovered the train to be a squirrel paradise. Almost all the passengers had bought roasted peanuts, and he made friends with children and grown ups. He returned an hour later, his tummy almost bursting. I am going to take a nap, said grandmother. It's been a tiring day. She soon dozed off. I was feeling hungry by now. What did grandmother make for us? I asked grandfather. Ham sandwich, boiled eggs, a roast chicken, gooseberry, tarts, and apples. It's all in the tiffin basket under your berth, he replied. I tug at the large basket and drag it in the center of the compartment. The straps were loosely tied. No sooner had I undone them than the lid flew open, and I let out a gasp of surprise. In the tiffin basket was grandfather's pet python. Grandfather had let it loose in the garden before leaving, but it had somehow managed to snuggle itself into the tiffin basket. Well, what are you staring at? Grandfather inquired from his corner. It is a python, and it has eaten up all our dinner. Grandfather jumped out of his place, looked inside, snapped the basket shut, and pushed it back under the berth. Grandmother must not see it. She will think we brought it on purpose, he said. So, till this much I am teaching you today. In your next class, the other two pages